one of the hallmarks of our liberation, the thing that has made us stood firm without any friends in a very hostile environment with enemies all around us. The reason why we are succeeding is because we've always have a very, very clear vision of where we are going, and we have communicated that to our people so that we all pull in one direction, or as many of us um, as there are. That has been the bedrock of our success, and that is some of what I will do today. Going pre-October 1st and post-October 1st, a simple message was coming from my office. And that message was the vision that our defense forces have of accomplishing what we all of us, absolutely desire and are sacrificing as much as we can, and even going beyond that as we are sacrificing now. That vision of an Ambazonia, free, independent, able to control its destiny, able to protect its people. So, my fellow comrades on this road of liberation, I want to assure you that the state of our defense is strong. Let me be crystal clear. Let me be really, really, really clear. La République du Cameroon has been defeated in Ambazonia. We control the majority of our territory. Our people view them as invaders, as terrorists, as occupiers. Our people view us, the Ambazonian Defense Forces, as family, as protectors, as countrymen. They celebrate with us. They join with us to do community activities. They run from them when they see them approaching. They have lost control over the territory they thought they had absorbed. They are now genociders. And let me send this message to the Ambazonian Defense Forces and to the families of the terrorists that have been sent into Ambazonia and are terrorizing our people. This message is: no one, none, no occupier from La République du Cameroun has any immunity in our land. They will be taken out anywhere they are found, in our quarters, in the bar, in the market, in the bushes, anywhere in Ambazonia. You send your son in there to terrorize, murder, and commit genocide, we are going to take them out. I know La République, like in the case in Wom, where their counterintelligence officer sent into our neighborhood in order to create militias to spark community against community fight in Ambazonia, so that they term it the Rwanda type situation or the South African type situation with Chief Buthelezi. These officers that have been sent into our communities, one taken out in womb. I saw La République du Cameroon the other day putting out a picture of an Ambazonian youth that has been killed and trying to pass that youth off to the family of that terrorist counter-revolutionary force that was killed in womb, passing that off as they have revenged that death. This is the person who killed your son, your husband, your community member. That's the Ambazonian that has been taken out so he can rest in peace. Let me send this message to that family and to all the family. That was a lie. The commando unit that took out that counter-revolutionary terrorist are in Ambazonian liberated zone. They have returned to base. They are taking a rest. They will be going back out on mission. So for the family that thought that their son has been avenged, that was a lie from a government that has been lying to you all your lives. A word to the wise: pull your sons out from Ambazonia, force that government to pull them out, ask them to go to church, cleanse them for the crimes against humanity and genocide that they have caused in our land, and pray to God Almighty, that when we start doing the accounting of those crimes, they are not one of them, because we will follow anybody, who has massacred and murdered extrajudicially Ambazonians to the gates of hell. Whether they are in Kuseri, whether you put them in Kondengi, whether they are in Eboloa, we are going to go through the land of Ambazonia, and every single one who have burned our villages, who have massacred our people, we are going to try them and execute them for crimes against humanity and genocide in our land. There are no free passes. There are no truth and reconciliation commissions to be created. My fellow Ambalanders, while in disguise, let me use this opportunity to once more congratulate that commander, the work that they did, the intelligence officers that tracked down that terrorist, and those who enabled them to accomplish their mission. We owe you a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid. You are emblematic of the presence, the extraordinary sacrifice, the intellect of a member of the Ambazonian Defense Forces. We thank you, as we will thank our tanker unit, Assistant Commander, Commander Pastor Emma, the commander of that unit, Commander Anagel, the mission commander, all the foot soldiers of that unit, the people of Bamenda owe you a thanks of gratitude, and the Ambazonian people owe you that for the effort that has been methodic, that you have methodically wiped out the kidnapping in that zone close to 80%. The work that you have done is tremendous. Keep on. We owe you a badge of honor for your effort, for your sacrifice, for the job that you have done. Well done. Commander Small Pikin, our FACO Brigade commander. You, your deputy, the commanders of your state command, your foot soldiers, your bravery was on display in your response to the death of Sweet Caroline. We cannot praise you enough for not only responding to that, but showing the teeth of Ambazonia to these terrorists. Your actions that day and the days following makes you a commander in good standing of the Ambazonian Defense Forces, a commander that we owe a badge of honor to, and a brigade that takes its place within the ranks of the Ambazonian Defense Forces with their heads held high. Brigadier General Somanguru, Colonel Brutal, and a Guzang platoon, Guzang area platoon. It's not today that we know of what that you are capable of, what squads of your platoons are capable of. We saw you in action a few days ago at Ambo. We have seen you, your platoon or squads of your platoon in action in Lebialem, in action in Manu, up to Tinto. You are the epitome of an officer and a gentleman in the Ambazonian Defense Forces. You are in the central command of the Ambazonian Defense Forces. But that does not absolve us from sending you the praise and the congratulations that you so richly deserve. We owe you and your squad a badge of honor. You are what makes the heart of the liberation struggle beat. You and commanders like the commander in the Bamenda Brigade, Ebube, the Forest, the Rambos, all of them who got up and decided to enter a town blanketed from top to bottom by what La République considers their SEAL 6 teams that brought in a prime minister into a zone that a few days ago had demonstrated very clearly in their October 1 celebrations that they have defeated La République du Cameroon, that we are in control of our land and our destiny with our flags flying high. They brought in thousands of troops, blanketed the area on all the story buildings in town, put machine guns on them, helicopters circulating in the air. Commanders Ebube, Rambo, Forrest, Cobra, you refused to allow them their photo op. You decided to get into that teeth, and you demonstrated to them that you control your land. You went in there, right within them, penetrated through the outskirts of their perimeter, and were in eye contact with their chief terrorist, the prime minister, before they had to hurry him into a car. You went in there, you came out. You did not only come out, but you arrested all of those who had defied the order of the nation to stay indoor, who had come to provide a backdrop of the photo op of the occupier to demonstrate to the world that, oh, no. Don't look at 1st October. Look at what we are capable to do inside Bamenda without any fear or favor. And you picked up those gullible individuals. And I'm glad that you showed compassion. I am glad that you followed the Liberation Code. I am glad that you followed your code of conduct. Met out punishment where punishment was due, showed compassion where compassion was due, and freed those who were caught up in circumstances that was beyond their control and wrapped into that. But the message, I hope, has been sent to every individual. We, the Ambazonian people, are a very generous people. A people who know right from wrong. A people who don't do collective responsibility, but hold individuals according to their action. So let me send this message clearly to the aliens within us, or those that are brought in or ferried from overseas, from foreign lands into our land to provide backdrop for these terrorist visitors. If the Ambazonian people say stay indoor, and the Ambazonian people are staying indoor, whether you carry a foreign passport, so long as you are in Ambazonian land, respect the law of the land. If you don't do that, you will be arrested, the Liberation Code will be followed, and due punishment will be allotted. So for those that we are freely allowing you in our land, we know some of you are actively supporting La République du Cameroon military. For those, we consider you members of Cameroon forces, and because you are part of the machine of genocide, so long as that is proved, you are executed. That's why the Liberation Code is in place. Get familiar with it. To all others who are just making their living, respect when the Ambazonian people decide we are not going to school, respect that, or go back to your land and carry out your activities. We will not disturb you there. So, my fellow Ambazonians, as I came to you and I spoke to you about the Ambazonian Defense Forces, I was very clear. I carried the message of the War Council, the thinking, the advice, the discussion, the debate within that council and the members of that council. If I come and present it, I carry the advice, the debate from our ground commanders. The same as I carry the advice and the debate within the Ambazonian Governing Council, the president, and his advisors. And that is the blueprint that is laid out in front of the Ambazonian people in our war of liberation. I know there has been a great concern when you hear about the Ambazonian Defense Forces being defined by groups out of Ambazonians as either extremists or terrorists. That should not, for 1 second, cause you, the Ambazonian, to pause. All of that is happening because of the work that we have done, because of the ideology that we have set, because of the blueprint that is out there. Look at that. Is that extremist? Is that terrorist? Is that non-state? What we have been able to do from the beginning is demonstrate the fact that no country, none, who had its independence in January of 1961 can suddenly become a country that had another independence on October 1, 1961. That a country who had its independence in January of 1960 suddenly become another country that has independence again on October 1, 1961. Two separate countries. That the contours, the outline of the law, of the treaties signed on independence by the African states that clearly state you cannot change your border after you have gained your independence. The borders are baked in. So the La République du Cameroun of 1960 cannot suddenly become the La République du Cameroun of today, suddenly having grown a child in the stomach as Ambazonia. So no, we are the Ambazonian Defense Forces. We are not a defense force of a country and non-state. No. We are not a defense force of a country that already has a defense force and so are non-state actors. We are the defense forces of the Ambazonian people who gained their independence in 1961. So how? has this ideology and this blueprint got us to this point, and what is it that is going to get us beyond this point? My fellow Ambazonians, we achieved great success when we laid out the plan of action as we sought to destroy the genocidal grip that La République du Cameroon had placed on us. We indicated we were going to increase the cost of occupation. That is ongoing, and that has been achieved. We were going to make sure that the land was ungovernable. Of course, we know that it is ungovernable by La République du Cameroon. You can see very clear evidence in the people of Babachu and Wum running into the bushes, and those who could not run. You could see the evidence that they have lost control. It's ungovernable by them. You can see that evidence very clearly. And the third pillar of that was to internationalize the struggle. I am not going to go about the alliances that we are having with the Biafran people, the alliances that we are having with the Bax territory, the alliances that we are having all over the world. I will just go to the simple fact that the Ambazonian people from north to south, east to west in the world were able to come out in numbers, shouting at the top of their voices their nationality, who they are, and taking their place in the international community. The struggle has been internationalized. That strategy that got us to this point necessitated, as we had been drumming into our people, the next phase that came after we have made those achievements. And that next phase was to still continue, not just with the destabilization, with the making the land ungovernable, but in now transitioning into governance under Ambazonian flag of those lands. So once the Ambazonian Defense Forces go into an area, make it ungovernable by La République du Cameroon, the next stage that was added to that strategy was to stabilize those areas. Because in that form, you had known armed robbers, you had militias, you had warlords, some instigated, that get into the area, even warlords created by uniform La République du Cameroon forces, who put aside their uniform, form militia groups, and turn into armed robbers into those areas. That's why we came up with a contender force, to try that contender force, knowing that it will be a force that can be able to go across different zones, across different groups, trying as much as possible to bring to stitch the fabric of defense amongst the different groups, create that force to be able to get into these destabilized zones and establish stabilization, and then consolidate those areas under the Ambazonian state. That effort fell through, and that is when the Akamanchos came up. But even then, the work has been going on. That work of stabilizing the area, getting the La République economic, political, military and paramilitary groups out of there, and their control out of those zones, Once that is done, being able to establish safe zones where our internally displaced that has ballooned to more than 100 can return into those zones, where children can return back to school protected, so community schools created, where our people can get the health care with the creation of community health centers that has eluded them for the more than 60 years of occupation they have suffered. That is the tremendous work that is going on in these liberated zones in Ambazonia. And the rudiments of the economy being built, where roads are open, connecting one of these liberated zones to other zones, where we know that the Ambazonian Defense Forces can provide the necessary security for our people to travel to and fro to carry out their economic activities. Where we know that at the perimeters of these zones, we have the military might to prevent La République du Cameroon death squads from entering into those zones, and you have situations like the Baby Caroline killing, the Gabu massacres, what happened in Womb occurring. That is why there is a tremendous recruitment of forces going on in the Ambazonian Defense Forces right now. Because we cannot be satisfied with where we are, where we have stabilized our zones and where we are consolidating them by putting these pillars of control. And one of those pillars is the self-governance, where the Supreme General of the Ambazonian Defense Forces is able to organize the communities, to select their leaders, and they are installed right now. So in those zones, self-governance is also going on. That is the outline, the vision of the Ambazonia that is right now being created in front of our eyes. That right now, tens of thousands of our people are protected under. That right now, that on October 1st, you saw manifest in many areas. That is the work that the Ambazonian Defense Forces is doing. We don't leave these areas undefended. 24/7, hundreds of our forces man the perimeters. But we need those forces to push forward. We need that perimeter to go beyond Manu. We need that perimeter to go beyond Lebialem. We need those perimeters to start absorbing the pockets that we have in the other areas. That is the great push. And we need the Ambazonian people to not only listen to this vision, to not only nod their head at this vision, but to double their sacrifice so that this vision, these hundreds of thousands of Ambazonians that are living under this vision, we can increase that to millions of our people. We can increase that to Ambazonia. That is how we create that shining city on the hill. The work is going on. We are at the point of beginning an increase, expansion into those areas. It will necessitate a series of very critical, strategic battles. Very critical, strategic battles that will take place in areas that La République doesn't even know at this moment. Once those are done, then we know that the perimeter has been expanded, but expanded in a way that it can be protected. That you will not have community schools, and suddenly La Republique is able to get access and massacre our kids in schools. It's a tough task. I have every confidence because the evidence is there. You have seen the evidence. I have every confidence that your army, that your people's army, the Ambazonian Defense Forces, will accomplish this vision next year. That the perimeter will be expanded so that it becomes beyond any doubt to anybody that the state of Ambazonia is a living, breathing manifest on the ground. We can achieve that. The plan is set. It has been tested. You have seen it work. Let's make it expand beyond the borders where they are now in. Let's not contain it. We can do it. La Republique is defeated. We just have a unity of purpose. A unity of purpose that if all of us put a hand into, I assure you, Ambazonians, you have your nation in short order. That is why, at this juncture, in this time, in this moment, I am calling for all the Ambazonian defense groups to fall under and align with the vision, the blueprint that the Ambazonian Defense Forces has put forward. You know, I know, the War Council knows, the Ambazonian people knows that this war has been defined by the blueprint that the Ambazonian Defense Forces, the Ambazonian Governing Council has been putting in front of our people from 2016. Every step of the way has been, we first of all lay out the vision, it is attacked, it is criticized, it is rejected, and we implement it, it's success, and suddenly it is assumed and followed. And we move to the next stage. Present it, it is attacked, it is rejected, it is not funded. We show its success, and then it is adopted and followed. We cannot keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. We debilitate ourselves. We debilitate the struggle. It is time, as I repeat, on this day, this moment, this time, for all the defense group to align with the vision that the Ambazonian Defense Forces demonstrated on October 1, that the Ambazonian Defense Forces is carrying forward right now. I know that our people believe in a democratic principles. The principles that everybody has an opinion, everybody has a vision. No one vision is the correct vision. I know all that. That is why I did not come here and tell you that this is my vision. That's why I indicated to you the War Council. That's why I indicated to you the Ambazonian Governing Council Cabinet. That's why I indicated to you the forces on the ground, the defense advisors, even concerned citizens. all of that, crafting a strategy that works. I call on all of these defense groups to align and follow the vision in front of us so that we bring the suffering of our people to a close as soon as possible. Because I know how fractured our people have been, caused by a group of individuals very concerned about their self-interest rather than the interest of the Ambazonian people. The Samuel Sako, the Chris Anus, what they call the interim government. There are very few times that I pause and make these people a major part of my conversation with the Ambazonian people. But today, in the depths of my shame as an Ambazonian, I speak to you. And I would ask you, any of you, who feel maybe you are a supporter of the Ambazonian Governing Council. Maybe you are neutral. Maybe you are a supporter of Dr. Sako, Chris Anu, and their gang. And you might feel that it is not my place to say this, that is a distraction to some of the great words and the call of duty that I have placed here. The only thing that I am going to ask you to do is to go on the internet and search the speech of Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry. Read it or listen to it. And you the reason why I'm talking to you about these individuals. I listened to an audio from Mr. Chris Anu. And it belittles us. It belittles us as a people. You are there degrading women, our women, the most precious commodity that we have. Bringing the struggle into disrepute. I don't have any fondness for some of the individuals he's castigating, but to listen to the demeaning of any of our people in that manner brought tears to my eyes. For someone purporting to represent the Ambazonian brought shame to all of us. To masquerade as a leader demeans us. engage in self-defense, not because they wanted to follow the interest of our people and defeat La République du Cameroon. It was for self-interest, for selfish goals, for the idea that if they are not the ones to decide the fate of the Ambazonian people, whether that fate is returning them back to the slavery of La République du Cameroon or in a decentralized slavery state in La République du Cameroon, that if they are not the one to decide those fates, nobody should, and nobody will. Even those who are already on the field clearly defeating La République du Cameroon, clearly showing that La République du Cameroon are there to be had. They got in, and their fight is to cripple those who want to succeed, those who are succeeding. Because for them, we all better die if they are not the ones that present their solution and prescription for our people. It's the same thing with diplomacy. They went into diplomacy not to push forward the interest of the Ambazonian people, but to push their own selfish agenda. To be able to come out and demonstrate that I am the one leading, that I am the leader, because I talk to this, because I represent that. That, their self-interest. They have squandered all of the respect and admiration we had garnered by internalizing internal. It's difficult. It's difficult to allow these people to boomerang. It makes you incapable of controlling your emotions. But they have squandered so much that we have to rebuild our credibility back in front of the international community. They have been so selfish and pushed their own selfish agenda so much so that they belittle us in front of those very diplomats who had stepped in on the field and felt that these people are worth what they say they are worth. That is why the Ambazonian Governing Council must not shy from taking that leadership and informing those very diplomats point blank. You thought that you would sideline the Ambazonian Governing Council because they were following the interest of Ambazonia and not their self-interest. And that those that are following their self-interest, you can control and you can manipulate. Where has he taken you? Where has it taken your process? But the Ambazonian Governing Council must accept the leadership. And that is why today the Ambazonian Defense Forces must accept that leadership on the ground. The SACOs, the ANUs, all of these miscreants are bankrupt. Intellectually, they are bankrupt. Morally, they are bankrupt in their strategic thinking. And that is why All of the forces must come together, align with the vision that is clear and the agenda that the Amazonian Defense Forces have put forth, and let's once and for all end this occupation of La République du Cameroun in our land. We must do that. We must do that. And it's not just the forces on the ground. It's those individuals are out here. There is no shame in a liberation to say I was wrong in following these people who every day demeans us and expose the struggle to disrepute. There are times when in the mirror and you say I was wrong and I am going to do the right thing. The Amazonian people should rally. They should rally right now. Let the Amazonian Defense Forces push the struggle to the end. We need the unconditional support. We need to increase our forces by 300% in order to be able to protect the liberated area and push forward and liberate and protect the new liberated areas. We have to do that. We have to do that. It's a tremendous outlay, but I have great confidence that with the support of the Amazonian people, this will come to an end. This too will end. I know some of you might be there and you are thinking that, oh, for God's sake, a Facebook has said that the Amazonian Defense Forces is a non-state extremist organization. Let me remind you just a little bit of why we fight. We are a people. I mean, John Frundi is not an Amazonian, you see. Nobody can accuse him of being a patriotic Amazonian. He is a sellout. He's an enabler. But he was the one who exposed the genocide and war crimes that were going on in Amazonia. He stood in front tens of thousands of Amazonians, looked them in the eye, and told them what was happening in our territory. That La République du Cameroun was using the AIDS virus as a biological weapon on the Amazonian people. He was very clear. He looked at a crowd of more than 50,000 and told them that in a few short months, half of that crowd would have died. Because La République du Cameroun was transferring from its zone every person who was tested and diagnosed to be carrying the AIDS virus into Amazonia. And these people's aim was to spread the virus within our people as much as possible. And we all lived through the results of that. You could look in a little quarter, in a single night, you might have 5 or 6 dead bodies around. We lived through that. You lived through the massacres like those in Du, where Amnesty International itself called it crime against humanity, genocide. You lived through that. You lived through the internet blackout that was instituted over our land, such that our people could not contact the outside world. What was going on in there? Genocide. extrajudicial killings as they try to suppress the uprising of our people. What did the world think was going out there? That they put the blackout in our zone and they were dancing kumbaya on the streets? Blood was flowing. We lived through September 22nd, October 1. Before I ever sat in front of you and signed the declaration that put the Ambazonian Defense Forces on the streets to protect our people, you have been living a nightmare of genocide where helicopter gunships were used on demonstrators, where those being rendition to Yaoundé, the planes they were flying in, their bay was open and our citizens were being pushed out, and some were landing in the middle of our villages. Just suddenly you get a bomb from the air, land in the middle of the street, and it was one of our citizens that was caught somewhere else being flown on their way to Kondegi, Yaoundé. That is the terror that these people instituted. You want to call me a terrorist? You want to name me an extremist, a non-state extremist? Because I fight against that? Heck, go ahead. Go the heck ahead. If I am going to stand and prevent the burning of one village after they have burned 1,000 villages, call me any name that you want to call. If because I do that, you want to name me that, name it, give me any name. Would I be the first? No. But would I get up one day and I say that there are a lot of baby Carolines that will never face what baby Caroline faced? Will I be satisfied with that? Yes, I will be, if I prevent that from happening in the future. What we have learned as Ambazonians, we have learned not to be defined by any people other than us. We call ourselves the Ambazonian Defense Forces. They can call us anything that we have. We have achieved our goal. We are one in concert with all the defense forces that have protected their land. I just sat there. I mean, I will be laughing if it was not so sad. These are the same people. These are the same people who stood by and 6 million Jews gassed all over Europe. I can imagine as the Jewish group forms armed resistance in over 100 ghettos in Poland and the Soviet Union, I could imagine what Facebook might have termed some of those groups, extremist groups. I can just imagine. I can imagine what they would term the group at the Warsaw ghetto in Poland, who attacked the SS, and for over 1 month, an army that has marched through Europe like elephants going through saplings, took a month to be able to suppress the Warsaw ghetto. and send the inhabitants there to the gas chamber. I could imagine what they would term those groups. You know, I know that they feel that the Ambazonian people should toe the line and wait for the international help. The international help that came after 6 million Jews have been killed. The international help that did not prevent more than 4 million to die in the Congo. The international help that sat there and the river Kagera turned from a sea of water into a sea of bodies as these bodies washed down Rwanda into Lake Victoria in Uganda, and they sat there. We are not going to sit back. We will not sit back. We are going to do everything in our power to make sure that the genocidaires in our land are wiped out. We will not beg. We don't beg for any favor. We don't call anyone. We would like for the responsibility to protect to be invoked by the international community and for them to help us. But we are not going to wait until the river Mezam turn into a sea of bodies. We are not going to wait until it's turned into a graveyard like Bochenwald and Treblinka. We are not going to wait until the streets of Kumba are littered with the dead bodies of our citizens. We are not going to wait until Manu is repeated, where a divisional officer can get up one night and say 60 villages should be evacuated within 24 hours. As they carried out their job of ethnic cleansing. We will not wait until all our cities are put in touch and burned to the ground, as we saw La République du Cameroon do in broad daylight under the gaze of the international community in Lebialem. My fellow Ambazonians, we are the Ambazonian Defense Forces. We protect our people and we will die protecting our people. And no, come hell, come high water, we will keep marching on the road to Buea. We are on the right side of history. History will prove us right. And like Mandela, whether they call you terrorist today or extremist tomorrow, history will prove you right. Stay the course. Don't divert. I say this. Even tomorrow I fall. Even tomorrow I am in jail. Pick up the baton. Don't dodge, nor hide, nor say that I need to change my. No. You are the Ambazonian Defense Forces. You are the army of the people. No matter where you live, we are all ADF. And we will free our country as ADF. And 1,000 years from now, the Ambazonian people will celebrate that liberation by the Ambazonian Defense Forces. May God bless you. May God bless Ambazonia.